Advertising, if done with the right intent, has tremendous power to change attitudes, to shape thinking, to shape the way we act, the way we think. And if you look around, what kind of stories does the world need right now? There is animosity, there's negativity. There are 7 billion people on this planet. And for centuries now, they have been judged, they have been discriminated against on the basis, they have been divided on the basis of their race, religion, sexuality, ability. So what do we need to do? We need to tell stories of inclusivity.
Hello, everyone. Today, I bring to you a dialogue with a creative leader in the advertising industry and a filmmaker and a storyteller, Sonal Dabral. Sonal rose through the ranks to become the head of creatives in Bates, DDB Mudra, and Ogilvy. Recently, he gave up his amazing career in advertising to become a filmmaker. So over to Sonal Dabral. Hi, Sonal. It's nice to see you. Thank you for accepting my invitation to join this dialogue.
It's such a pleasure talking to you, I swear. Every time I've met you, the lunch that we have, and plus sitting here talking to you on whatever life and various subjects, it's a real pleasure.
And the feeling is mutual, trust me, Sonal. You know, as we go through our career, we produce our creative outputs. But our doodles represent our ideas in the works that were left on the table.
Wow.
But there's value to that. Sometimes you can go back 20 years and say, "Arey yaar, main us samay ye soch raha tha, maybe this is what I need to do now."
Nice.
This is more about evolution of your imagination, the ideas that you pursued and ideas that you left behind.
Nice. Beautiful.
Because those ideas were not left behind because they were bad ideas.
Yeah, true. Absolutely. Or at that point in time, even if they were right at that point in time, one took a different path.
Yes.
And then you realize that at the end of it all, who is to say that that was right and this was wrong? You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
You just go with it. You know?
Absolutely. So overall, I want to trace your evolution of your imagination. Okay.
Superb. Yeah.
So I want to start with my first question.
Yep.
As far back as your memory goes, I don't know, maybe you're 1 year old, 5 years old, whatever.
Yep.
So the question is, where were you and how did you start dreaming?
Oh, where was I? Okay. So I was growing up in these, my dad was in UP's provincial service and UP government service. And he was used registrar, sub-registrar, people who work with real estate and do the registry and all that. That was somewhere in that region was his job. And we were growing up in all these little cities across UP. So my earliest memories that I remember, some of the memories, and my dad passed away when I was pretty young, but I still have these images of my dad and of some of the things that we did. One distinct memory in my head, partly because it's been recounted many times, was and it's very, very hard to believe. And Beverly, my wife, says that it's a figment of my imagination, even though my brothers corroborated, but she's refusing to believe, which is that when I was I clearly remember when I was 4.5 or 5 years old, not more, I had a gang in Roorkee. We were growing up in Roorkee. And I had this gang of 3-4 other kids. We used to play down, in the ground there, playing kanchas and pittu and whatever kids at that time in those days played. And din bhar idhar udhar ghumna, nobody is bothered, gande kapde, come home, go up home, then go to school and come back and play. And I remember, and maybe that imagination that you speak about, yeah, one can actually connect that imagination part to what I'm going to tell you, this story. I remember somewhere in the back of my head that me telling this gang that we have to go to the Roorkee Canal because I want to drink the water of Roorkee Canal. Now, I can't fathom that me as a 5.5-year-old thinking that, but that's part of my memory, so must have happened. So we walked, I led this bunch of 2-3 other kids, all my age, 4.5, 5-year-old, yeah, which is very difficult to imagine in today's day and age, and walked down the road, must have been 1 kilometer, 2 kilometers, and I remember the 3 kids, my 3 friends, I asked them to keep a watch that no elders from our families were coming behind us to take us away. And then what I did was I got down those staircase, got down to Ganga Canal, and from this last staircase, वो चुल्लू भर पानी लिया मैंने और उसको मैंने पानी पिया, and I was like, accomplished, mission accomplished. And I went up. Little did I know, I had no clue that my brothers had gone in different directions. My mother was about to get onto a rickshaw. My mother had not told the dad that I was missing for fear that, because he used to get very angry and he used to get very panicky. And so fortunately, as I came up the staircase, those steps, as I came up the steps, the Ganga Canal steps onto the road, these 3 friends of mine are waiting for me. A friend, a really close friend of my brother's, was passing by on his cycle, and he saw me, right? So he herded all of us back to our place. And as I reached my place, right, my mom was about to, and that visual was also, I remember, my mother, Ammaji, I used to call him Amma. She was about to get onto a rickshaw to now go look all over Roorkee for me, because I was nowhere to be found. And as I came, my mom obviously gave me a couple of slaps. Yeah, she shouted at me, and then she started crying a bit and all that because she was so relieved. And my dad, I still remember when he came back and he was told the whole story, right? He asked me, so what all did I experience? Which was very bizarre. So that was one. And maybe this curiosity was part of my growing up, because in Roorkee again, I was in my kindergarten or something. Yeah, I was in my kindergarten at that time. And I crossed the fence and went actually to a cinema hall and gave that guy 5 paisa or something to try to see a film. Yeah, I ran from school and kindergarten.
Mm-hmm.
So I was caught and I was brought in and I was, presented to the principal. And the principal, that old lady, shouted at me and told me something. And again, my older brother who was there was called. And when I went back home, again, my mom shouted at me, and but not the kind of shout that I had got earlier with my other mission. But this time again, my dad asked me, so what happened? So I said, this happened. So I told the cinema, I remember these, snippets. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I told that guy that, I've come so far. I've walked so far to see a film, and you can't even give me a ticket for 5 paisa. Right. Because he obviously didn't give a, And so then my dad asked me that, so what happened after that? So I said, I was taken to the, मुझे principal के पास ले गए. So my dad said, तो क्या बोला उन्होंने? So she said, hello gulo, hello gulo, hello gulo. She was shouting something in English which I didn't understand. So I'm recounting to my dad that she said, hello gulo, hello gulo, hello gulo. He was so amused by that anytime any of his friends came, he used to call me. Asha, so what did the principal say when you ran away to the theater? So I used to say, hello gulo, hello gulo, hello gulo. So, and little do you realize, yeah, that in that instance, there are so many things that are happening. One is that in the way possibly my dad was behaving with me, it was uh, giving me some kind of a license, or those neurons were getting developed in the brain that exploration is good in life, right? So that's one. And B, possibly every time I was performing, the performing gene was also getting slightly strengthened, performing or presenting, so I thought there was a lot of good that so these are some of the very distinct memories. And you talk of imagination, so that's why I recounted these two experiences, because they are to do with curiosity, they are to do with exploring, if you were to
And also self-confidence.
yeah, possibly, yeah.
So tell me something, what did you want to become when you were a kid?
When I was a kid, I mean, so in terms of what one wants to become, this starts to happen, I guess, by the time you're in your 4th or 5th or 6th grade. At least at that time in our school, that's the time people used to talk about, in passing, but used to talk about that, yaar, bade hoke ye karenge, bade hoke wo karenge. And so for a while, it was that, okay, army used to be a big thing at that time, NCC, scouting, that used to be part of growing up in school. So army was one of the thing. But soon, I participated in an art contest in Agra, one of these on-the-spot painting competition. And this was when I was in my 4th standard, I think, 4th or 5th standard. And in that contest, I won the first prize in my age group. So that immediately spurred me into thinking that this is great, right? And because I got that prize, and because I was doing better and better in the art class, right? Soon after that, within a year or 2 years, my youngest aunt got married to an architect who was practicing in Canada. And so when he came and he spoke to me when he came to Agra, and we chatted and all that, and he said, show me your drawings and all. So I showed him the drawings and all. So he said, you should become an architect. So I said, architect kya hota hai? So then he explained to me, we design buildings and all that. So from the 5th standard, around that time, I had, and I was doing more and more art. I was doing more and more sketches, and I was painting on fabric, and all that had started to happen. And I had decided that I'll become an architect. Something creative I have to do something creative. So architecture would be great. And the other thing was, with Taj Mahal being in Agra, every time any relative came, I used to tag along, going to see the Taj, right? So every time I saw the Taj, now after speaking to my uncle, his name is Sonal Dabral, and after speaking to him, then when I started seeing the Taj, it was with a slightly different eyes, that somebody thought of this, which was quite exciting. And so that's how it went till fate intervened one day. And because of many, many things that happened in my life, I'm a firm believer that किसी भी moment पे, right, things could have gone this way or that way, right? The fact that it went that way, right? Maybe you can either call it fate, that it was all destined, or the fact that you took that path because at that point in time, your preparation was for that path, and your passion for that path was at its peak. So although I wanted to become an architect all along, right? In my 10th standard, I used to play a lot of soccer and hockey. Those two were my, the games that I used to like. And I was at that time studying in St. Peter's College, Agra. And sports was a big thing, like many schools, yeah, with those big grounds and all, which is such a rarity in a place like Mumbai. But so every time there used to be a free period, right? Or let's say some teacher has not come, some teacher is absent, or for whatever reason, if one got a free period, everybody used to either go to the hockey ground or to the soccer ground. And in that 1 hour or 45 minutes, whatever that period was, duration of the period was, we used to play our heart out and come back, So that was just part of the system. And so one day, so this is, so this is, so let me now retrace the steps back to a day before. I was cleaning so there was a ritual. There was a wooden cabinet in which I used to keep all my books, notebooks and study books. And every month there was a kind of a ritual that I used to take all the books out, take off all the covers, right? We used to cover the notebooks and cover the books, and put new covers, right? So either with newspapers or either with brown paper, put new covers on all the notebooks and all the books. Every month I used to do it, and clean up the cabinet, put new newspaper essay, uske andar, saja ke all the books and all. And 1 month I took out my books, and out fell. Actually, you would remember, because whether the color in my memory is right or not, there was a light green, if I'm not mistaken, green cyclostyle paper, which was the admission form of NID. Yeah, it was like pinned. It was just sheets of paper, like cyclostyle, almost typewritten. Yeah. And it had the full, the different courses that are offered. It was basically a prospectus kind of thing, right? With all the info on NID, but it was a bunch of paper which is like stapled together. And stapled had got the trust on it, yeah, because it was oldish sheen had come on it, as if it's been folded and has been kept for a very long time. And this bunch of paper fell down, and I picked this paper up because it seemed very unfamiliar to me. In between the books, this bunch of paper fell down. And I opened it, and it turned out to be, what is this? National Institute of Design? There's an Institute of Design, yeah. And then I started to read. Courses offered: graphic design, textile design, ceramic design, right? And then I read things like sketching and painting is considered an asset. Yeah, although it's not important, but it's an asset. Owning a camera is good, not mandatory, but it's good if you own a camera. So I read all that. It was fascinating to read because it seemed like a very where is this Ahmedabad? What kind of place is Ahmedabad? And this institute, what is this institute? Had never heard of this institute in my life. Yeah, nobody had ever mentioned it. And so I said, this is damn good. So this happened. A day later, right? Which is the next day itself is when our physics teacher had not come. So we got a 1 hour break. Everybody ran to the soccer field. I was going to the soccer field, but I had a bit of a sprain on my foot. So I decided instead of going to the soccer field, let me go to the library. Because I used to really like just going through magazines and all. So I went to the library. I went behind at the back part of the library, back part, where they used to keep lots of these old magazines. So there's a bunch of Span magazine lying there. Yeah. Like a big whole mountain of Span magazine. I picked up the 3-4 issues right from the top and came back and started leafing through them. The very first Span, right, Thak Thak Thak, has got this beautiful 3-4 page story on National Institute of Design, the form that I had seen yesterday, right, a day back.
Yep.
And this is like, so I said, wow, this is like fantastic. This is providence, fate. So I started to read about it. And then I saw those photos of, people having tea in the lawn and, on the easel, people painting, wood workshop photograph, textile workshop photographs, and generally what looked like a really, really chilled scene, and a great atmosphere, even kind of shining through those pages of a magazine. And I read all that, and I went back, kept the magazine, right, and went back home. The same evening, I wrote a letter. तब हाथ से लिखा करते थे those days. Yeah. Letter लिखा, envelope में डाला. Letter में सब लिखा. My name is Sonal Dabral. I'm a student of grade 10. I'm studying ISC. And so and so and so, and I'd like to apply for National Institute of Design. So what do I need to do? Promptly, I received a mail from them that we take students after 10+2. So please be in touch, right? So that's what I did. I kept it in my. It became suddenly from architecture. One more option had now come in that. Okay, I'll take the architecture exam, but NID exam I have to take. Yeah. So now we cut to 2 years later. I go to my eldest brother was that time working in Delhi. So School of Architecture, Delhi School of Architecture,
SPA,
had the SPA, School of Planning and Architecture, had the exams that year. That's the place they used to have the exam and interviews. So I went there to collect the forms of SPA and also to find out about NID exams. And I realized that year was the first year that CBSE was changing from 11 to grade 12 that year. So the SP exams had been shifted to end of July instead of end of June, which they used to happen every year, which meant that an NID exam that I found out was around the 21st, 22nd of June in Delhi. So now it became a bit of a problem, right? So anyway, I took the NID exam and then I came back to Agra and I brought in the School of Architecture form also. And 4 or 5 days later, I was selected for the interview. I did the interview and came back to Agra. That time, the written and the interview used to happen one after the other, as you would remember.
Yes.
And I came back to Agra. And sure enough, around the 26th, 27th or something, some date like that, I remember it was just 4 or 5 days before the date of reporting, which was 5th of July. So I got this pink telegram. Congratulations, selected to NID. Please report on the 5th of July. Yeah. And so we got just 4 or 5 days left ahead of me, right? And School of Architecture exam is end of July, right? So that means I'll have to commit myself to NID, and then how do I then take SPA? Right, because I would have paid the fee for NID, which was quite a big sum of money, right? I mean, at that time when I remember, it was an expensive proposition to first pay and then possibly take the SPA exam.
Yeah.
You know. So I'm thinking, and my eldest brother, my brothers are there, right? So at the time that people should be celebrating, wow, got into an NID, yeah, or got into a professional college, yeah. I'm in a dilemma, right? Now what should be done? And everybody, yet very serious faces. My brothers also, kya kare? What should you do? Is there any future in design? Yeah. Is there this in design? Blah, blah, blah. And I still remember at the end of the room was a slight chota puja ka corner, whereby mother was doing her daily puja, right? She had blessed me ki NID mein mila, congratulations and all that. And then she was doing her little puja. So while this discussion is going on, while doing the puja only, she casually turns back, right? While doing the puja. अरे इतना सोच क्या रहा है तू? या तुझे NID अच्छा लगता है ना, right? तो चला जा NID, and फिर अगर अच्छा ना लगे तो फिर 29th जुलाई के एंड में दिल्ली जाके SPA का एग्जाम दे देना, right? And then she turned back to do the puja, right? So when I think back that, I mean, everybody's amma is great, yeah, everybody's mother is great, right? But our amma had brought us up after our dad passed away when I was very young, and to give that statement, I can never forget that, with the confidence, with the because see, whatever it was, that money was always a little tight. It was not that, you could very easily go to NID, easily pay the fee, and then very easily go to SPA if you don't like it,
She
But the way,
basically turned what seemed so complicated into a very simple decision.
very simple, absolutely. In her heart, she knew, because moms have instinctively know about their kids, right? In her heart, she knew that I will like NID, right? I will like the experience, that I'm prepared for it, and the fact that I will not go to SPA. She somehow knew it. Yeah.
Abhi, I want to come into like a more recent kind of a past. I do know that you acted in Fauji
Yep.
after NID. What was after NID, right?
Yeah, right. Correct.
And so I don't know what you were doing professionally at that time, but I do know that that created an urge in you to be an actor. And I know you acted with Shah Rukh Khan and two other people in Fauji. So the one was traditional graphic design, movie career, and advertising. How did you choose your path?
So what actually happened was, actually acting and performing, I was doing right from my school, right? So it was something that I have always loved. And at NID, the whole design process was about getting to know your audience, who you are talking to, who you are designing for. And at NID also, I started to do theater. We were doing theater, and I realized that in advertising, as against pure design, advertising, because you do films, you write film scripts, and advertising, I thought, where every problem that we'll work on, every product that you'll sell, every time you'll be thinking of getting into your target audience's shoes. What makes the person laugh? What makes the person cry? How does that person use that specific products? What are the insight around the usage? what does a person feel? Uh, what should the person feel when he or she sees your story, the story of the product that you are feeding him or presenting to him in the form of an ad film or a print ad, yeah, or in the form of a story. And so I thought advertising was a great combination of my design education and my love for theater. You know,
Yep.
in theater, getting into your character's shoe, whether you're directing a play or whether you're acting as a character, it was always about, let's go back to his backstory. You know, what does he think like? You know, what makes him cry? What makes him laugh? What are his desires? What is his ambition? What's that person's desires? And this is exactly what advertising gives you.
So now I want to look at your experience in advertising. What was your most meaningful, impactful project that really gives you a satisfaction that you really had an impact on the world? One of your creations that you feel deeply proud of?
I mean, I had a few ones, 2 or 3 actually,
tell me about that.
which are deeply embedded. So one is which was a very, now when one thinks about it in today's context, a very very normal line, you know, which is "Humko Binis mangta," right? But in the context of when it happened, which was 1989, and this was we were working on a chips pitch for a chips brand called Binnies. And we had done a campaign. Now, at that time, this was pre-India Shining era of, you know, India coming out, India opening up to the world, which happened in 91. This is 89. And most of the advertising, in fact, all advertising used to be in English primarily. And then they used to get translated in a very small way. But most of the advertising was in English. And very proper English lines used to happen. And we had created a campaign which was looking for fun beneath the one, very normal, you know, showing teenagers playing the guitar and enjoying this potato wafers. And I'd gone to this, we were researching the campaign that we had produced. And in that research, I got talking to the younger brother, like 6-7-year-old younger brother of one of the people we were researching with. We were researching with teenagers from 16 to 19 years old. And one of the Sikh boys, his younger brother, like who was 6-7 years old, he had come along with the older brother. So he was just hanging out there. And we were doing it in a house in Lajpat Nagar in Delhi, this research. And I got talking to this kid, and I asked him, so, aapko chips pasand hai kya? So he said, mujhe to bahut pasand hai. So he said, तो आप, और मैं खुद जाके खरीदता हूँ, मैं पापा को कहता हूँ पापा पैसे दो और मैं जाऊंगा, मैं खुद अकेला जाऊंगा और खरीदूंगा, और मैं तो जाता हूँ शॉप पे और मैं कहता हूँ मुझे वो वाला चिप्स चाहिए, वो वाला, एंड मैं उसको पैसे देता हूँ, मैं चिप्स लेके ना मैं तो अकेला खाता हुआ आता हूँ, राइट? एंड द वे ही सेड इट ना, मुझे तो वो वाला चिप्स चाहिए, राइट? That struck me as I know how things happen now when seemingly disconnected things get connected in your head. Now, during that time, there was a song on TV, Julie, Julie, Johnny ka dil tujh pe aaya, Julie. So that song and the way this kid talked with that attitude, suddenly this line came to my head, which is, if we just have a line with attitude, humko binis mangta. So while all advertising in India is happening in English, let's get into street speak for the first time. For the first time in India, a street speak line was used, right? So I think what happened was that the authenticity of people's everyday talk when they see on advertising for the very first time. Now we do it all the time, yeah. But for those years, it was the very first time it was happening. And later it was kind of written in books and all also on advertising. When you talk about advertising history, that Humko Binis Mangta was possibly the very first street speak line that came into Indian advertising. We said, let's take it as an alternative.
Mhm.
So from the research group till getting back to the office, right, I had written the song, which was based on this Julie Julie.
Mm.
And then what we did was, during that time, Grease and Staying Alive, those films of John Travolta and Olivia Newton-John. So we cut a rough video we got the song recorded. I got the song recorded, right, and cut a rough video.
हमको बिनीज मांगता नया नया ये चिप्स बिनीज इसकी है हर बात नई
यही तो मेरी जान है जान है जान है बिनीज चिप्स बहुत ये प्यारा टेस्टी और करारा
हमको ये नहीं मांगता हमको वो नहीं मांगता हमको और कोई चिप्स नहीं मांगता
तो क्या मांगता बिनीज
Vinny's extra crisp potato chips.
हमको बिनीज मांगता.
And because everybody reacted in a way that, because it seemed surprising to everybody that in the context of those years, it was fresh, if I may say so.
Mhm.
And we presented both the campaigns to the client, looking for fun, Beneath the one, and this. What the client did was he had teenage kids, so he called a little party for his kids, right? He had a poolside party for his kids, and he played both these scratch films on a VHS we had given him to the kids,
Mm.
and asked them to choose. And everybody went completely berserk when they saw this Beanies, right? It was like shouting. It was fresh. It was shouting. It was spontaneous. There was a huge amount of spontaneity in it and a huge amount of authenticity. But that was my first experience with my own work that I saw the impact of authenticity. Second one was come 1995, 94, 95, when I saw the power of advertising, which is chocolates till then were supposed to be meant for kids. All chocolate advertising showed that chocolates are for kids.
Mm.
So adults used to buy it for their kids. And once the chocolates came home, everybody used to enjoy them. And then Cadbury's, who were the market leaders and still are market leaders, decided that they needed to expand the market. And to expand the market, let's start talking to adults. People used to feel that if I buy a chocolate for myself, you feel a little this thing, that chocolates are meant for kids. And the other thing that was happening was that as kids grew, so when they became 12, 14, 15 years old, chocolates used to get left behind because it was meant for kids.
Mm.
So the insight we worked on was that there are many things in life that you don't do because you worry about what will people say, right? Similarly, right, but you should always listen to your heart because that's the real taste of life. So go ahead and buy that chocolate. And then came this girl on the cricket field commercial, right? So Piyush and we worked on it, and the whole team worked on it. And this girl on the cricket field, this commercial came with this girl dancing on the cricket field and sharing this chocolate with her boyfriend, who's hit a six, and he was about to get out, but the guy loses he's not able to catch it, so he gets a six and he scores a century. The boyfriend. So the girl goes dancing into the cricket field. Now that commercial took India by storm in a way, literally, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everybody was talking. Everybody till date talks about that commercial.
कुछ खास है हम सभी में, कुछ बात है हम सभी में, बात है खास है, कुछ स्वाद है, क्या स्वाद है जिंदगी में।
कैडबरीज डेयरी मिल्क, असली स्वाद जिंदगी का।
And again, things, advertising, communication. One was, there is a lot of authenticity in that commercial. Second, the time that it came, 91, India opened up to the world. India was getting back its confidence. And in that girl who breaks out of all the shackles and starts to dance, while all the suited, booted dudes are there, you know, wearing gray suits and all that. I'd used all my art directorial capabilities to make that difference, that the girl should be in a flowing, flowery dress as against the grays of the rest of the world. Yeah. And in that, they were seeing this new India come out, you know, right? That because the phenomenon, the kind of success the commercial got, and in turn, the chocolate, Cadbury's Dairy Milk, right? The amount of Cadbury's Dairy Milk that commercial sold was absolutely phenomenal. So you get to see and then you start to feel that the amount of power that one wields in communication, you know, that it should be, one should, there is a lot of, if done correctly, there is a lot of power in communication, in advertising
Absolutely.
communication, or any kind of communication. Third one, I would say, is really close to my heart. We were handling McDowell's #1, and the platform for McDowell's #1 was friendship. This was 2016 or 17, I think. 2015, sorry. And our DDB Mudra, that's where I was at that time, the chief creative officer for DDB Mudra. So we had worked on a campaign for the new campaign for McDowell's #1 for 2015. And we had a full film and print and billboards and everything. Yeah, the full idea on friendship. And we were supposed to present to the client. So I was taking a flight to Bangalore. At the airport, I was having a, you know, I was having a beer, right? And looking at my phone, and I said, let me do a bit of research on friendship. So I went to YouTube, and I said, most emotionally charged, when are we most emotionally charged about friendship? When we are leaving a college, for example, or when we are saying bye in offices, you know, and the manifestation of that happens in farewell videos most of the time. Yeah, farewell videos. So you have college farewell videos with, you know, photographs, and there's very emotionally charged content. Yeah, as far as friendship goes. So I started watching a lot of friendship videos. And most of the friendship videos had, there's the singer KK who passed away, unfortunately, last year, I think. A really good singer. Most of the friendship videos had the soundtrack, as the soundtrack were these two of KK's song. One was Yaro Dosti Badi Hi Haseen Hai. This is one of the song. Then the other song was Kal Rahe Ya Na Rahe Hum Yaad Aayenge Ye Pal. So on these two songs, most of the friendship videos were cut by college students, by people, you know, cutting farewell videos on offices and all that. So it's almost like that these two songs are in a way, the friendship anthems for India. Yeah. So then I took the flight to Bangalore, and I was looking at the campaign that we were about to present the next day. And I'm chatting how to prepare, how to present. I'm talking to the teams. And the teams, I said, yaar, isko ye thoda theek karte hain, ye thoda theek karte hain, vagara, vagara, vagara. The teams went away. And then I'm sitting there at the office in the conference room, and it struck me that why am I creating a campaign? Why are we creating a campaign? Why don't we create a friendship anthem? Because a friendship anthem on which 2 years down the line, 3 years down the line, all farewell videos or some farewell videos should be cut to this anthem, friendship anthem of McDowell's #1. So then I started going back to let me write a friendship anthem. तो मैं board conference room में बैठा हुआ था अकेला while the teams were working. And I started thinking about my friendships कि बचपन में जैसे आगरा में पतंग उड़ाया करते थे, गलियों में भागते थे, पतंग कट के आती थी, पतंग लूटते थे, या फिर एनआईडी में चाय वाय पिया करते थे, कभी फ्राइडेज दो ग्रीन लॉज जाते थे, इधर जाते थे. आई स्टार्टेड गोइंग बैक टू ऑल द मोमेंट्स ऑफ friendship and little moments and all that. And all the times that friends were by your side when you were down, when you had suffering from Desai's injection and malaria at NID, Dr. Desai, and all those moments are coming in my head, and I started to write, and I said, to make it differentiated friendship for the brand should own this anthem. I said, ऐसी वैसी दोस्ती नहीं, ये number 1 यारी है. So the lines that I wrote, हर आसमां से ऊंची है, समंदरों से गहरी, ऐसी वैसी दोस्ती नहीं, ये number 1 यारी है. And then remembering all the the summers spent in Agra, running behind flying kites, running in those gullies, when the patang kat ke aati thi na kabhi, to chhaton pe bhagte the, right? And छाँव में धूप में जाने कितने रूप में ये तपी है, ये जली है. छाँव में धूप में जाने कितने रूप में ये तपी है, ये जली है. सोना बन के ये मिली, बरसों संवरी है, ऐसी वैसी दोस्ती नहीं, ये number 1 यारी है. तो so I wrote this, and I wrote 3 or 4 stanzas of this. क्यों डरें सपने बुने, क्यों डरें खुशियां चुने, यारी हमको हौसला दे. क्यों डरें सपने बुने, क्यों डरें खुशियां चुने, यारी हमको हौसला दे. कानों में चुपके कहे, साथ हूं मैं, जीत ले तू, दुनिया तुम्हारी है, ऐसी वैसी दोस्ती नहीं, ये number 1 यारी है. तो ये तो
क्या बात है.
So basically, yeah. तो छाँव में धूप में जाने कितने रूप में ये तपी है, ये जली है. सोना बन के ये मिली, गलियों से गुजरी है, बरसों संवरी है, ऐसी वैसी दोस्ती नहीं, ये number 1 यारी है, ये number 1 यारी है. हर आसमां से ऊंची है, समंदरों से गहरी, ऐसी वैसी दोस्ती नहीं, ये number 1 यारी है, ये number 1 यारी है. छाँव में धूप में जाने कितने रूप में ये तपी है, ये जली है. सोना बन के ये मिली, गलियों से गुजरी है, बरसों संवरी है, ऐसी वैसी दोस्ती नहीं, ये नंबर वन यारी है। क्यों रुके सपने बुने, क्यों डरे खुशियां चुने, यारी हमको हौसला दे। कानों में हंस के कहे, साथ हूं मैं, जीत लो तुम, दुनिया तुम्हारी है। ऐसी वैसी दोस्ती नहीं, ये नंबर वन यारी है, ये नंबर वन यारी है। हमसे करती रूठूं कभी तो जोड़ती, रूठूं कभी तो जोड़ती, भटकूं कभी तो मोड़ती, रूठूं कभी तो जोड़ती, भटकूं कभी तो मोड़ती। हर खुशी में हर गम में, अच्छे बुरे मौसम में, हमसे करती बात है, साए जैसी साथ है। ये नंबर वन यारी है, ये नंबर वन यारी है।
Beautiful, Sonal. So I have a question on this.
हाँ हाँ
All
yeah.
the three examples you showed, you're actually drawing upon your own personal experience, comparing it with what really people in the real world find precious. And then you blend something, your personal experience and other people's experience, into something that is simple but profound.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. And I think um, I really believe that our best stories, are our own stories, So whenever faced with a problem or whenever searching for an idea, I think first thing is to, as I say, Google your own memories.
I love it. So I have a question
Yeah.
on that. So looking back at your long career as an advertiser and seeing what you did, do you really feel you were successful in selling products or in creating memories? What gives you satisfaction?
I think you are putting it so beautifully. Yeah. You're putting it so you put it so beautifully. Because yeah, one feels happy when the product sells, right? Because that's what the job is. But more than that, it's the smile on somebody's face when he's listening to the song you've written, which is part of the product. So he's seeing the communication as beyond just the product. He's connecting to the communication as part of his life. And yeah, you put it really well. It's the joy that the person is getting after seeing your, it might be an ad you've written for a product to sell the product, but the joys person is getting, or the entertainment the person is getting by listening to your song or watching that story that you're telling him, or seeing that girl dance, or seeing two friends helping this friend who's got a prosthetic leg, getting over his fear of jumping from a cliff, like
Sure.
they used to do, So it's those the that's what really, that's another thing that gives a lot of joy. And to conclude that, I was talking about the fact when I spoke about number one yari is about the benchmark, that when you increase the bar for yourself, when your ambition becomes bigger. So that's what I saw in number one yari. The ambition became, instead of just an ad, it should be an anthem to which people should be cutting their farewell videos, their friendship videos. And now when I go to YouTube and see that there are many many farewell videos that are being cut on Ye Number One Yari, and it's gone. It has transitioned from just being a product song or a brand song into people are doing cover versions of this song. People are singing this song, So
I want to make one more comment, Sonal.
yep.
As I talk to you, I will be very honest. You are helping me change my attitude towards advertising. Okay.
Thank you. yeah.
I have kind of had this kind of a bias. I also live in the commercial world. I help,
Yeah, sure.
doing design research that sells products and helps our companies make money. But I have this attitude that a lot of times advertising is selling lies.
Yeah.
Yeah. And many advertising does sell lies or create myths to sell products. But what I'm hearing from you is, for you, yes, you have to make money, you have to have a career, but you're using your authentic curiosity and experiences of life to bring into public's consciousness precious moments of life that makes us human and better humans.
True. No,
So
that's again beautifully put to there. That's why I loved speaking to you. That's so nicely put.
And I'm understanding you better because I know you. I'm also understanding the reason why you have grown in this industry to this level, not because you help people sell products, but because you brought this humanity and human sensitivity. And in some ways, telling people simple things of life that are so precious and worth holding on to, be it a chocolate or friendship.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, and I think that's beautiful.
True.
You told me a story and you had this moment of transformation in your mind and you decided to quit your very flourishing profession and start a new path. I remember that story very well. So I want to revisit that moment, that ride in that cab or car or whatever that was. And I want you to tell me what was going on in your mind. Why did you decide to leave such an amazing career behind, which put you at the top of the industry and start a new journey?
So I've always been interested in like storytelling. All of us are interested. We are all storytellers.
Yeah.
And being in advertising, writing ad films, that I had started directing also. Yeah. I started directing way back when I was in Ogilvy, Malaysia. Right. So for the last, 20 years or so, I'd been directing off and on, directing ad films. And there was always this desire that at some point in time, I should also direct a feature film. But you know what happens in advertising? You keep going up and up and up and up, and responsibilities keep increasing. And so most of the time was being spent in planes. So this is pre-COVID days that I'm talking about, when people had not discovered Zoom so successfully. And I realized that the feature film desire or dream, if I continue like this, so this is what happened. After that meeting, when I was going back to the hotel, in the car, it hit me that at some point in time, I'll have to decide to give up on agency life to get into that to make a feature film. What had also happened is, prior to my taking a decision, some of the friends and colleagues and part of the industry had started speaking to me about, when are you going to tell us longer story? When are you going to direct a feature film? Lots of these questions used to come. Ki yaar kar na yaar tu. You should be telling a longer story. And so as I was traveling, maybe because I'm a bit high or whatever, after a couple of drinks, it struck me that I should take that decision. And I took that decision. The moment I left, sure enough, whatever I'd imagined started to happen, which is people started to meet in terms of longer form content. And then this beautiful project came to me, which was this Twinkle Khanda story, Salam Noniappa, and Ellipsis, which is Atul Kaspekar and Tanuj Garg. They run Ellipsis. They were the creative producers, executive producers, and Applause produced it. Applause was one of the producers, Ellipsis was second, and Twinkle Khanna, the three producers, three production houses. And I got this chance to direct this feature film with directing Dimple Kapadia in the lead and Manav Kaul as the male lead, and Aisha Raza Mishra, three fabulous actors, to direct them in my very first feature film, and to write the screenplay based on Twinkle Khanna's beautiful, warm, heartwarming story of mature romance. I couldn't have asked for a better debut feature in terms of what I love doing, in terms of the kind of stories I want to tell, the kind of stories I like telling, which I've always liked, even in advertising. Human stories, emotional stories, whether it was Number One Yari that I spoke to you about, or any of the earlier films I mean, I've written all kinds of ads, but the ones that are closest to my heart are the ones which are human, emotional stories. To get that kind of a story to direct as your first feature film and to do the screenplay and dialogues for was beautiful. So I guess sometimes I feel yaar itna late kiya, right? But then again I go back to the time that I accidentally took not accidentally, as I took the book out and NID's form fell. It fell at that point in time because
It was meant to
that was
be.
the time. That was the time that it was meant to happen. My decision to just go through some of the farewell videos was a conscious decision. But what then came was, in a way, I don't think it happens consciously with me. I feel blessed that I'm just possibly made like that.
And interesting is when I listen to you, I've had several conversations with you. You don't attribute your calmness to any divine force. You just attribute it to your own nature.
Yeah. Yeah, true. Maybe you're right. Other thing that has always helped me is the ability to listen. This thing of listening really well to your clients, to your colleagues, to the feedback that you are getting from people on your work. Very not getting so attached to your work that you stop listening. You're right.
So my last question is, think about my audience, youngsters, say between 18 to 22-year-old or even younger, 50 years from now when you and I won't be there, what would you say to them? Just like you've mentored so many people in your career, if thinking of them as your mentorees, what would you say? What kind of a path would take them to a place that makes the world a better place?
50 years from now, life would be so different. I mean, already technology is changing. It's so fast. When I look at AI, for example, even things like Chat GPT or Discord, I mean, the visual versions, that it actually boggles my mind what's going to happen in the next 50 years. But one thing I think that will always remain is that I'm here today, and tomorrow, day after tomorrow, day after tomorrow, 1 year down the line, 2 years down the line, this, I think we have a responsibility to ourselves, which is that, and I've always believed in this, that how can one be a better version of oneself tomorrow, day after tomorrow? So irrespective of whatever happens, wherever technology takes us, this thing will always remain, right, in its purity, which is that whatever era I am living in, 50 years down the line, a youngster 50 years down the line will also have this ability that his next day he can be a better version of himself, or the third day he can be a better version of himself, and better version of oneself in all entities, which is the skills that you need, better version in that, in your goodness, a better version in that, yeah, in your calmness, a better version of yourself. If you get angry very fast, then how can you be less angry tomorrow? Yeah. If you smoke 10 cigarettes today, how can you smoke 9 cigarettes tomorrow? Whatever there might be many different ways, but this whole thing of from one day to the other, to the next day, to the third day, to the fourth day, how can you be a better version of yourself, is something that is applicable, I'm sure, 50 years down the line, 100 years down the line, 200 years down the line.
Thank you so much, Sonal. And I'll see you soon.
Bye, Uday. Take care. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
हर आसमां से ऊंची है, समंदरों से गहरी, ऐसी वैसी दोस्ती नहीं, ये नंबर 1 यारी है, ये नंबर 1 यारी है। छाँव में धूप में जाने कितने रूप में ये तपी है, ये जली है, सोना बनके ये बिली गलियों से गुजरी है, बरसों सवरी है।